Udo, udo, udo. Um, I'm gonna try this new light. I got a new type of light set up. I'm using the old school back camera because the I wasn't filming the HD one. It's hard to see what you guys are saying with that on, or the flip side, technical stuff. Ndewo, ndewo, ndewo. Welcome, 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 welcome. This is Derek O'Foddermore with the Medicine Shell, and this is Ask Me Anything. I'm gonna do this one a little bit different. Last time, we had run out of individuals with questions pretty soon, so I am actually gonna have to start coming up with, or I got some things that I wanted to bring up. We'll see if we get to them though. Ndewo, ndewo. Once we get to 10 people, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Indigo, Ndewo. Hey, always awesome seeing you. How's the week been? How has the week been? I missed last time. Yeah. I didn't think I saw you last time. But last time was really short. It was really short. So I'm hoping this time isn't the same. Once we get to 10 people, we're gonna go ahead and begin. All right, we're already at 7. Ndewo. Hi, one them. Onyike. Nyukwu mere. Or is it Nyukwu mere? Ndewo no. Ndewo. I've been emotional, honestly. Oh, it is a full ass moon. Yes, it is. It is a very, very full moon. I was out yesterday, and it was like there was just like this giant eye just hanging from the sky. It was very ominous, and it looked incredible. I should have took a picture, but you all saw it anyway. We all share the same world. Ndewo, ndewo. Carl Fernandez, Rasan, Udo, Udo, Udo. Yeah, so the no full moon. A lot of madness has been going on my end. He said we have hits. We've hit. My wife's got me on some skincare. I think my face looks wet, but she insists this is what it's what the young youth are doing these days. So I'm trying to get with it, man. But yeah, no, the moon was amazing. It's been amazing, especially yesterday. Did everybody get a chance to see the moon yesterday? Did everybody get a chance to see the moon yesterday? It was incredible. It was incredible. Yeah, it looked like you can pluck it exactly. It looked like if you just reached out your window, you can just touch it, that kind of thing. It was insane. It must be the Korean red. I don't know what it is, but it gets shy. But that's the look, you know what I mean? That's the look. So I'll do my. All right, guys, we've hit 10 people. We've hit 10 people. Let us go ahead and begin. I found a new African store, and look how beautiful this thing is. Huh? Look at that. Look how beautiful this is. This is the four-lobed Oji, right? The four-lobed Oji. This four represents the four chambers of the heart. It represents the four essences of a human being, which is their chi, their source and their creator, eke, their worldly, their manifest being, their destiny as well is included in your eke. Your full and final form, your awele, all of that is included in eke. There is your agun or your onyowa, right? So let me start from here. Your chi, eke, agun, or onyowa. Your agun is the essence that you carried into this world, or that carried you into this world, and then when you pass, it will come back into this world as another. Um, by the way, I have a video. I'm releasing a video tomorrow morning, and in that video, I tell a story. This is like true story, government document type stuff, and there's something in there about the agun that has been confirmed by the U.S. government. And then your moi, right? Your light self, your your aura body, right? So all of these parts together, it also represents Eke, Urie, Offall, and Offall. It represents the holding together of a people, right? Ancestors, person, progeny, community, all that stuff. So that being said, let us go ahead and begin. All right, and guys, come with the questions, come with the topics. Come with the questions, come with the topics. Come with the questions, come with the top. Don't make me repeat myself like Dr. Umar, all right? Ayakaibido. Okikeke ruwa. Alabwala. Ala nne mmadụ na nne mmụọ. Ala na-enye ndụ, na-enye nke ọma dị n'ụwa. Ụmụ gị abịala. Ọ bụ obiọma ka m ji na-ekele ụmụ ndị eke ndị orie, ndị afọ na ndị ngwọ, ndị mbụ na ndị egede, ndị mmadụ na ndị mmụọ. Ọwụ obiọma ka m ji na-ekele mpanimo. Ọwụ obiọma ka m ji na-ekele ụmụ ajaana na ụmụ kpakpando eluigwe. Otu unu fụrụ m bụ otu m dị. Aka m dị ọcha, ihu m dị ọcha, obi m dị ọcha, uche m dị ọcha, ụkwụ m dị ọcha, mana anyị na-aga ije Chineke kere ka anyị gaa n'ụwa. Anyị ji ọfọ na ogwu aga ebe anyị na-aga. Anyị na-eso ete mmụọ, ete nne Chukwu, ete ala aga ebe anyị na-aga n'ụwa. Ije anyị ga-enye anyị ike. Ije anyị ga-enye anyị nchekwube. Ije anyị ga-enye anyị ụba. Ije anyị ga-enye anyị uche. Ije nke ga-enye anyị nke ọbụla anyị tiri aka dị mma n'ụwa. Ọ ga-enye anyị ya. Na anyị ga-eji aka anyị enye ụwa nke Chineke kere ka anyị nye ụwa. Mana otu a ka ọ ga-adị n'Eke, n'Orie, n'Afọ, na Nkwọ. Ise. Let us begin. Let us begin. Let us begin. All right. I'm going to scroll up and see if we got questions. We are question free at the moment. Okay, hold on. Kozeke says, Kozeke, I think this is the first time I'm seeing your name, so welcome, welcome, welcome. You're very welcome being here. Hi, I'm trying to learn more about ancestral gifts, including healing with hands. Wonderful, right? Laying hands on people, yes. This may be a type of gift held by Debia, yes. Is there anything you know and could share about this? Absolutely. So we have a community on Patreon. We call ourselves The Village, right? And I have members of The Village that have this exact same gift, right? So this is something that I am used to discussing and I have discussed before. So in my most recent video, the OCRA video, I spoke about how an individual has over 360 senses, right? A person has, and then some of them are more active than other people. The same way that the terrestrial senses we're used to are vary per person, right? Some people have great vision, some people have bad vision. Some people have good hearing, bad hearing, right? Some people then enter those extra senses that we don't tend to acknowledge, right? And some people have higher abilities in some than others. One of them is the capacity to heal by hand, right? One of them is the capacity to heal by hand. I will call it Osenaka, right? Really as a means of healing from more to more, spirit to spirit, more to more, right? Really as a means of healing by more to more. As you grow in your spiritual connection, your ability to connect to yourself on a spiritual level, your ability to acknowledge that you're entering a room not just as Madhu, but Madhu and more, your gift will grow. The stronger your more, the stronger your spirit, the more it will grow. On a practical level, without knowing you, I'm going to let you know it's going to depend a lot on your mood, right? Mood has a lot to do with spirit. It's going to depend a lot on your outlook and how you feel about yourself and feel about the world and feel about the people around you, right? And anything pertaining to a gift comes by way of Agon. They say that it's in the hands of Agon that a person receives excellence. So if you are using the gifts that come to you from Agon, your Chiwa, have to be acknowledged somehow, some way, right? It could be acknowledging them at your altar just by saying the name and saying thanks, Anabe Kalengi, or whatever language you want to use, right? It could be acknowledgement by way, and it should also be by acknowledgement by holding their offal, right? Holding their offal. Now, what does holding their offal means? If Agun is giving you a gift, Agun is giving you that gift so you can do Agun's work. Agun's work is done by people who follow Agun's rules, who follow Agun's ethics, who follow Agun's approach to healing, right? This means keeping your offal clean, keeping your hands clean, avoiding the things we refer to as aru, Aro. All of those things can kill your gifts. And then as you grow in your gift, you will come to find that there are very specific rules that are tied to your gift that are specific to you. They're not something I can tell you, right? Like we have an in-house Debia on Patreon, and if he eats draw soup, his abilities decrease, right? If he eats okra, his as Americans call it, his obana. If he eats obana, his abilities decrease. So as you go through life, you're going to encounter those walls that you have. You're going to notice that when you do a certain thing, say a certain thing, behave a certain way, eat a certain thing, associate with certain people, your gifts decrease. And as you learn this, as you gain more knowledge of it on your Onyuwa, or I'm sorry, on your Ijuwa, your walk through your life becomes your teacher. Now, one of the ways you can make this a more intentional learning process is by calling down your Chiuwa. Calling down your Chiuwa. The way you call down your Chihuahua is you give your Chihuahua some type of home in your ubi, in your sacred space. You give your Chihuahua a home in your sacred space, or if you have a workstation, a station that you use for your work, right? So historically, a lot of the blacksmiths, their shed was a shrine. Farmers, their farm was a shrine. Um, it's sacred. So if you have some type of, once you grow in your gifts, right? Once you grow in your gifts, if you have some type of workspace, you give Agon its own space in your workspace. Um, you initiate that by having a meal with Agon. You prepare a meal for Agon. There's a lot more to it too, but if you want to know more, I think our Dibia Uzo on Patreon, we'll definitely be able to give you the full details. But essentially, you're going to have a meal with Agua. You're going to say specific things to call down your Agua and let Agua know, okay, I'm ready to work with you. I'm ready to walk with you. Once you do that, you'll see that the growing of your gifts and the embracing of your gifts will become more intentional and smooth. But either way, even if you don't do that through life, you will learn it. It will just be sometimes by hard lessons, right? Hello, I'm Rasan's girlfriend. I'm wondering what your kids' names mean. It took a while to come up with them. Oh, okay. Yeah, so no, it didn't take us time. So I named my son, my wife named my daughter. My son's name is Namdi. Namdi. Namdi, right? The name Namdi means my father lives. The reason Namdi is because when my grandfather was in the process of transitioning, I got on a plane and I flew to Nigeria and I wanted to spend time with him. And so I spent time with him. You know, what we do traditionally in back home is if somebody is passing, everybody takes turns taking care of them, right? So I was part of the rotation, taking care of him. I never bathed him or anything like that, but like getting him food, making sure he doesn't eat certain things, helping him shave, all that stuff, and then just spending time with him. So they on my way there, they said that he probably wouldn't make it by the time I landed, but I came and he was alive and he was okay, and he was wearing some nice clothes. He wanted to meet me in his nice clothes. He said that my son from he was at this point had dementia, and he said that his son from London had just landed, which was me, and I'm not from London, but that kind of thing. And he was like, "Yeah, I was telling people that you were coming, but they didn't believe me." He just kind of got into it, that kind of thing, and was talking about Taiwan and China. He's very, very bright. Anyways, so we spent time with him, and he passed while I was there, right? And I remember having this feeling like something touched me that said, because at this time I was looking at proposing to my now wife, and something touched me and said, "This is the time." And so I told my dad my intentions, and I went home to the U.S. home, and I proposed to her, and we had a son. And so when we did Afa, right? When we did Afa, because I didn't know what I would name him, I was thinking Ikenga. I thought I liked Ikenga. Um, we said we weren't going to do any Chi names for the first kid because everybody's name is Chi 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 Chi, you know. So we said no Chi names. We want to be original. And then I had him, and I just had this feeling that his name was Namdi. You know, you get this feeling, right? And so after I named him Namdi, which means my father lives, we went and did Afa. We did divination to figure out who he was reincarnated from or who he was in the past life. And it turned out he was my grandfather, right? Which I already had a feeling it was. I already had a feeling it was. It was my grandfather. And yeah, so he's named after um, my grandfather, but in the essence that my grandfather has returned. My father lives through him, that kind of thing. My wife named my daughter Olanna. Olanna, right? Olanna means her father's jewel. Her father's jewel. Olanna, right? Olanna. And so the reason she's named Olanna was around the time my wife was pregnant with her. We I started experiencing a lot of personal success, right? I started experiencing a lot of personal success. Things started moving. Things that had no business moving started moving. Things that I really took a gamble on and stuff like that started going, right? And I just started seeing an uptick in my own life and so forth. Um, I became aware of what my path was in the process of doing the medicine show. Um, had a dream prior that kind of told me start looking in this direction, right? But I became more aware in the process of doing the medicine show. I've grown in who I am, and part of that growth was taking a huge sacrifice for the sake of my own spirit and my own happiness. And all of a sudden, the sacrifice started paying off, and it started making sense, right? So my wife named her Olanna, her father's jewel, because that kind of thing. She's like treasure, right? Now here's the interesting thing. So when I first started the channel, I told the story in I think it's my Agon or my Dibia explained video. And I told the story about my little brother. And my little brother, when he was born, he fell off a high seat and broke his leg at a daycare. And this happened in like Nebraska. And the doctors there said that they couldn't heal him, that he wasn't going to heal. Am I late? No, no, you're never late. Come hang out. We're telling stories. We're telling stories. Um, yeah, so let me go back to it. So the doctors said that they weren't going to be able to heal him, that he's going to be, that leg's just not going to work for the rest of his life. So we went back to Nigeria. My mom, she went to the hospitals there, nothing. At one point, one of the hospitals in the West in America had tied his cast so tight that his legs started losing circulation. And my mom had to rip out of the cast with her own teeth and her own hands. This is a true story, right? So it was just this big mess. And we went home. My mom was going here, going there. My mom's a Christian. She went to the church. And my grand uncle, who at one point was the last like full blown traditionalist in my family. And the reason I say that is because most people in my family are kind of like, they'll like, if it's how to do the traditional thing, they'll do it, but they're like kind of secular. They're not super they're not really religious or the spiritual people, right? But when it's time to do the thing, they'll do the thing. If that makes sense, right? Which is how most families are back home, anyways, except the Christians. And so he was the last guy that would, wake up every morning and he go Offall, bless his Offall, greet the sun, greet his ancestors. And he was like full blown, right? Sacrifice all that stuff, right? I used to watch him out of my window, and where he'd do his sacrifices and do all these different things, that kind of thing, right? Which obviously has had an impact on me. And so he has this way of talking. He's like, I'll say it in English. He's like, when you're done wasting your time, bring that child to me. It's exactly how he talks. My dad said that during the Biafra War, there was a civil war. My dad was like 8 years old when it was happening. And then my dad said he was walking by one day, because my dad wasn't sent to go fight because he was too young. And then he's like, "What about this one? He's old enough." That's just how he talked, right? And that kind of thing. And so my dad remember being really pissed off that he said that. He's like, "Bro, I'm not trying to die," that kind of thing. So either way, it was back to the story. So he goes, "When you're done wasting your time, bring that child to me," right? And so my mom brought my brother. They buried my brother's leg. There's this video that somebody sent me on Instagram. It really touched me when I saw it because that's exactly what we did for my brother. And it was this kid, probably within this last year, that they buried his legs. Or buried her legs. Sorry, it was a girl. They buried her legs. So they buried my brother's legs. They did Afa. They figured out that the person my brother came back as, or who he was in his previous life, his Onyowa, was a very like young, promising man, and he died. And the way he died could have been prevented by one of his aunts. Like one of his aunts could have saved him, and she didn't. And so Afa figured that out. They did the divination, the Afa. They figured out that that's what happened. They went to her and they asked her, like, this is what Afa is saying. Is it true? She said, yes, it's true, that she's sorry and this and this and that. So she went, part of the requirements is that she was going to cook a meal for my brother, who was like, at this point, 2 going on a 3-year-old baby. And she prepared a meal for him. She apologized to him. She ate with him. And we had to like spend time with him while he was outside to keep him occupied and that kind of thing. And so this whole time I thought it was my uncle, that grand uncle that talks like this, that healed him, but it was actually his wife, right? Don't worry, the story's gonna tie back around. It was actually his wife that did the healing, right? But she was blind. And so because she was blind, she's very, very, both of them were very old, right? Very traditional woman, tattoos, everything like that. I never saw her wearing a shirt. You know, it was just everything, it was, just very traditional, just like, just hoo-ha, that kind of thing. And it was his wife, and his wife was a very spiritually gifted woman. She 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 used to read dreams. So if you have a dream, you can go to her. She'd read your dream. She used to read poems. She used to read akaraka. She used to read dreams and poems, but she was blind, so she just that kind of thing. The story was that she was very beautiful when she was younger, and because she was very beautiful, she was also very lazy because she felt like she can get away with it. And so, but she passed away in like the mid 90s, right? In the mid 90s. And so they did Afa when my daughter was born. Her name is Olanda. And they figured out that my grand aunt, her, had come back as my daughter. And it was strange because again, the people doing the Afa for me, they don't know that I made this channel and I've told a story about her and all these different things, right? And they figured out it was my grand aunt that came back as her. And my dad's like, yeah, that's unusual because she's been that's you don't see that often. She's passed for a long time and that kind of thing. And I was like, I think I know why, because I made a video talking about her, right? I made a video talking about her. Um, and that whole leg healing thing and so forth. And so she came back as my daughter. So my daughter is Olana and my son is Namdi, right? And their names are tied to their stories. My grand aunt's name is Akumbu, which is ancient. It means ancient wealth. Akumbu. And then my daughter, before I even knew they were connected, is Olana, her father's jewel, her father's treasure. So that's where my kids get their names from. Udo. Thanks for being patient, guys. I appreciate that. On the Korean regiment, Ise niacinamide. I don't think I'm using niacinamide or nias, whatever the hell that shit is, bro. That shit's bleach. I said that on TikTok, and the girlies started trying to fight me. But I specifically remember because she gave me a set and it had that. And I'm like, no, I don't want to use this set. So she gave me some other stuff like from The Rock. And so I'm using The Rock stuff, I mean, it's my bad on the free endorsement. The Rock needs to pay me. Okay, so we answered that. What is the purpose of malevolent spirits in Odinani? Such a good question. Such a good question. So malevolent spirits don't have a purpose, right? They don't necessarily have it, or let me say this, they don't have a wholesale purpose I can just ascribe to them. It's just based on the way they are configured, what they use, what they do, and what they need is counterproductive to what we do use and need as humans, right? It's just like mosquitoes. I can't really say the purpose of a mosquito is to be annoying, but what a mosquito needs is counterproductive to not me feeling good and not catching malaria and all that stuff, right? So they are spirits that are configured in a way that's adverse to the way we want to live our lives, right? We call them egwonsi. We call them aka ogili. That's their afa name, aka ogili, right? We call them ajomo. So whatever they are is somehow at the moment adverse to us. They're moving in this direction, we're moving in this direction, and we're at a stalemate, right? We're at a stalemate, okay? And because we're at a stalemate, the way we typically deal with it in our tradition is we figure out what the spirit, the malevolent spirit wants. We figure out what the human being wants, and we find a way to allow them by ritual or whatever it may be, lifestyle changes, medicine. We allow them to bypass each other peacefully. You understand? To bypass each other peacefully. So somebody had messaged me the other day and sent me a video saying that somebody is saying that the masquerades back home are demons, right? That the masquerades back home are demons. And if you want to translate it that way, that is not an inaccurate translation. A lot of them are what you would consider demons, you understand? A lot of them are malevolent spirits. A lot of them are spirits that harm, are spirits that take, are spirits that destroy. A lot of them. And the ones, you'll know them when you see them, right? You'll know that they're the ones that'll chase you. Right, and they look like what they represent typically, right? A lot of them are, but our philosophy on dealing with evil is different from the philosophy maybe you might be used to in the West or wherever you're asking from, right? It's different. You understand? The concept of vaccination, the concept of inoculation, these are African. This is an African contribution to world science, right? And the reason I bring that up is because look at what a vaccine is. You have a virus. The virus gets into you. It wants to do something. That thing is adverse to you living, you die. You understand? But if we can figure out a way to have that virus inside you so that it now becomes a protector, right? It's still inside you. You're not getting rid of it. What do you want? You want a host? Okay, I'll give you a host, but I'll give you a host under these conditions, right? You're going to make sure I don't catch the bad version of you. You understand, right? So what we did back home, like there's a lot of ways this was done at home. You would cut traditionally, traditionally in the ancient days, there was a lot of ways that this was done. You would cut somebody, right? You would take their blood and you would inject their blood into everybody in the community. If somebody gets sick, you would take their blood and put it into everybody else's. There's another thing they used to do where they'll take a bowl and you'll put it like near the family house to collect rainwater and dust and all that stuff. And then when a newborn baby is born, you have the baby drink it, right? So that all of the germs and everything that is malevolent in the environment is taken in by the baby, right, at that age. And then that baby builds the immunity for that thing going forward, meaning that those demons have now become protectors, right? Demons have now become protectors. The closest example that a lot of you guys might be familiar with is the Book of Solomon, right? Where these demons come and it's like, oh, this one, I like to suck blood out of his finger and all this weird stuff. And then he throws the ring on it and then he makes the demon start working on the temple for him, right? And another demon comes, he throws the ring on it and starts. By the way, I think that's what Pokemon is about. I think that's what Pokemon's about. You throw the little ball at the monster, which the ball has the ring. It becomes yours. You use it. Now you use it to do your bidding, right? So a lot of those masquerades, part of the agreement they have with the community and with their controller is that because they want to live in the community, they want to walk about in the community, they want to be respected, they want to be honored. You understand, right? But sometimes, in order to be in the community, respected and honored, they might possess a person. They might possess a person. And you'll have this person who's so obsessed with getting respect that they're willing to destroy themselves and destroy people around them. You have this person who's so obsessed with power, they're willing to destroy themselves and destroy the people around them. You have a person who is so jealous that the same thing. That you have a person who is so lazy, right? That the same thing. They become destructive. So you figure out, what does this spirit want? What does this particular thing want? What does the spirit of laziness want? Spirit of laziness wants to, I don't know. I'm just gonna say so. I don't know. Whatever. Just wants to maybe I don't know, not exert itself. Not exert itself. I'll use an example, right? There's this particular masquerade back home. And this is about to get, this is not PG. This is not going to be PG, right? I'm just going to tell you guys. It comes out during Ekeleke, which is this, it's a masquerade show. And it comes out and it looks like, you know, that villain from Mortal Kombat with the two sticks, and not villain, but the character in Mortal Kombat with the two sticks. I forgot his name, Scythax or something like that. Looks just like that, right? And it comes out, but it looks like that, but it has this like giant, you know, phallus just hanging down, right? And what it does is it takes the sticks like skis and it goes down and then it like thrusts in the air and the thing flies up and everybody's laughing. Everybody's laughing. It flops up. And they have him tied with a rope. They have him tied by the stomach with a rope and they're walking with it and he does it again and he does it again. And then what it does is if it finds a young girl that is looking at him, he'll then just jump at her, right? And then while he's in midair, the person with the rope will yank him down, and then it'll slam the sticks on the ground and run away into the bush. You understand, right? And so I don't really need to describe too much of what that spirit is for you to get a picture. You understand? But there's this acknowledgement that this thing is not going to go away, right? But if we can control it, what does it want to do? It wants to chase girls, right? Okay, let's control how it chases girls, right? So when it jumps, we pull it and it runs away. You understand? Let's do that. There are so a lot of these masquerades. A lot of them are like warriors, right? But maybe they're like very that warrior spirit, you know, sitting around in a peaceful environment. It'll make war where war doesn't exist. So some of them will come out. You'll see them, you know, thrashing, that kind of thing, swords, all that stuff. So a lot of those are demons. Yeah, a lot of the masquerades are demons. But if it's respect they want, we'll come out, give it its respect, and send it back to where it's being kept, the Adrophia, right? If it is acknowledgement it wants, to come out, gets its acknowledgement, right? Whatever it wants, but at the same time, it's going to stay in the community, and you know, just like a vaccine. So it's like vaccinating yourself of it. Anybody that's been vaccinated of hepatitis, there's hepatitis inside you. You understand? But it's a controlled, calm version. So that's kind of the idea with the malevolent spirits and stuff like that. Odemma. He said, Hi, I'm Ugonna. Undewo Ugonna. Professor Ugo. That is my niece's name. Are there any Igbo folk tales or myths about navigating identity? Interesting. Reclaiming power, physical, spiritual, balancing personal gifts with societal expectations. Oh, yeah. There's a really, hold on. Please let me. No. No. In this book here, Igbo Mythology for Kids, go check it out if you get a chance. I'll show you the title here. Igbo Mythology for Kids by Chinelo Anya Diego. Chinelo Anya Diego, right? Igbo Mythology for Kids. There is a story here. I'm not going to spend too much time looking for it. If it has to land on my lap, otherwise I'm not going to stress myself. I'm not going to stress. Ojugo. The story of, right? Ojugo. Or is it Ojugo? The story of Ojugo. I don't remember it off, like, I can't remember it beat for beat, but I know that it covers exactly that, Professor Ugo. That story covers exactly that. Because Ojugo is a child, to my knowledge, is a child that is born different from the people around Ojugo. And I'm just trying to remember. I'm not going to tell the story well. I'm just remembering pieces of it. An older woman realizes what Ojugo truly is and takes Ojugo under her wing and tries to gradually help Ojugo bring out this person that Ojugo can't even see, is not even aware of. And I'm not gonna, no spoiler. It's a good story. It's a pretty decent story. I read it for my kids like a few nights ago for the first time, so I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I remember that was one of the themes of it. Another great book. This is not really mythology, but it's Efuru, the book Efuru, Efuru, by Flora Nwapa. Efuru is said to be the first modern novel written by an African woman, something like that. It is, I think, if you read Things Fall Apart and you read Efuru immediately after, you will get a good picture of what the world looked like during colonialism, right? People think Things Fall Apart is pre-colonial. That's what that era looked like. That was not pre-colonial. You understand? The Most of the time of colonialism was the British just gradually encroaching, and then Things Fall Apart was when it was Okonkwo's community's turn. But according to the rest of the world outside of that community, I think Umuafia or something like that, Nigeria was already a colony. Yeah, according to them, just the people in Nigeria didn't know. You understand, right? So, Efuru is about a woman, and she kind of has like a rebellious nature, right? She has a rebellious nature. They list all the, okay, those of you who are members of our community here on the Medicine Show, maybe you watch my videos, maybe you come to the lives, maybe you're on Patreon, you're the group study, or you're like, you've read the library. There are things that if you use your Udinani eye, if you use your Dibia eye, and you will read the story, you're going to catch things that the average person doesn't catch. Because one of the criticisms is the end doesn't make sense. But the end makes perfect sense if you understand the different types of people, right? Okay, I don't want to do any spoilers, but there's a type of person that she discovers that she is. And that type of person is tied to all of her gifts, and it is tied to all of the setbacks she experiences. But to the rest of the world and to her, those gifts and setbacks paired with each other didn't make sense. She was very beautiful. She was very enterprising. She was very hardworking. She was very successful, but she couldn't find a husband, right? But she couldn't or she couldn't keep a husband. You understand? And that was stressing her out. And towards the end, she figures out what it is and why and that kind of thing. Medicine show people will understand it completely. The average Ofeke, I don't know. So those are two stories that I know that deal with identity. There's also the story of, and I don't know it too well, but the story of the lion that is raised with sheep, something like that. There's a lion that's raised with goats, and throughout the lion's life, the lion questions why why the sheep look the way they do and he looks the way he does. Why the sheep, or is it monkeys? It's some animal that has nothing to do with the lion, but the lion gets raised with them, wonders why they can climb this and do that and do this, and then when something dangerous happens, the lion was the most apt for dealing with the situation. But I don't know the story, I just know it exists, right? Other folk tales about identity, spiritual gifts. Ojugo is closer to the spiritual gifts one that we're talking about, right? As well as Efuru, wink wink, as well as, am I winking with the right eye? Wink wink wink, as well as Efuru, right? So I didn't mind. Professor Ugo, I hope I answered your question. I'm really in a folklore kick, so I actually appreciated the question a lot. I'm in a huge folklore kick right now. Okay, I'll do mine. I just read the story of why the alligator, why the animals run when the alligator comes to the watering hole. Let me know if you guys want to hear the story about the alligator in the watering hole. It's a very interesting story. I told a story about a man who lost his eyes. If you guys remember the video, I think it's Arubinago explained. Is it Arubinago? I think in my Arubinago video, I told a story about a man who loses his eyes. And so this story is kind of like the child's version of the same thing. One of the reasons I've been on this big folklore kick is because of Odinani. I can look at mythology, folklore, and I see so many things. I can see so many things. I can see just a density of wisdom, right? I was looking at stories about Hermes, right? And understanding Odinani helps me understand who and what Hermes is. What is that referring to? who and what her Greco is Greek, but I understand it better now because I understand Odinani, right? I understand Jesus better because I understand Odinani. I understand there was another Greek one that was just incredible. The one I can't remember his name. It starts with an E. He sings so well that he goes into the like he sings so well that the gods want him to come sing. He goes into the underworld from with singing and shit like that. You know, why Hermes gave Apollo his little instruments. I know exactly I know what all of those things symbolize now. Sleeping Beauty, the story. I know what everything there symbolizes. So yeah, I didn't mind. Oh, I smell something really good downstairs. Okay. If everything is predestined in Ordinary, what is the whole purpose of existence? Well done. I do not like the idea of destiny. I kind of believe we all chart our own destiny. What are your thoughts? Yeah, it's something that even amongst the Ordinary people is debated, right? So everybody has their opinion on it, but the general idea is that whatever is going to happen, it's written. It has been written. You understand? Life is Chineke experiencing itself. Okay, life is Chineke experiencing itself. Life is Chineke experiencing itself. You are a part of that experience, right? Now, in your own terrestrial kind of, I don't want to say terrestrial, in your human mind, you may think that that somehow takes the poetry or the meaning out of your own life, right? That I don't want to be just a part of something that's actually doing the moving. You understand that? That's actually doing the thinking, right? But it's predestined. It's all predestined. And even had a video where I asked the question, do you believe in that like things are predetermined? And I firmly believe they are. And the reason I believe they are, just from like a pragmatic point of view, is if the universe has the concept of cause and effect, then everything is predestined. You understand? Because one cause creates an effect, and that effect will create more causes, or becomes a cause that create more effects, that create more, and create more, and create more, and create more, right? Or if I have this pen here and I use this cause, the cause of me going like that and swiping it, the effect is this is going to go down, no matter what the pen thinks. You understand? If I go like that, it's a wrap. You understand? And that's going to cause something, it's going to cause something, it's going to cause something, and nobody has any say in it, right? Nobody has any say as far as that go. So the human being is chi na eke living, is a part of this concept of chineke living, right? And what will be has already been written. In fact, it's just it repeats itself again and again and again on different scales, and it feels like the passing of time to the rest of us. Yeah. So the idea of predestiny, if you would have said to me 10 years ago, I would have said no, people have free will and things like that. And I don't believe it anymore. I don't believe people have free will anymore, right? I only think people have personalities. I only think people have I found out that if you don't have enough zinc in your body, you become introverted, right? You don't want to deal with people as much. You want to stay indoors more. But a lot of people just have a low zinc diet and think that that's just who they are. You understand? There are things that we ingest that we know it's obviously that. Like, okay, it's obviously the alcohol that's making me act like this. It's obviously this is making that. But we never think the configuration of my own organs and this and this and that, right? If your calves are small, your relationship with your heart is different than a person with big calves genetically. Things like that. It's predetermined, right? Even my children, right? As I'm seeing them grow and develop, I've realized very soon, like with my son, I realized that this is a fully formed person. This is a fully formed person. I can make his ride through life a little more pleasant, but this is a fully formed person. He's gonna be what he's gonna be. He is who he is, right? I can delay the realization of this and that, but I can't change it. You understand? As he's coming out of his mother, he's the same person. He's the exact. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like the same thing. Just keeps like when you plant a seed and it grows, and it's fundamentally the same thing in different forms. But you know what it's about to be. It's gonna grow out this way. It's gonna do that kind of thing, right? So yeah, and then he hits age 1.5 becomes obsessed with Elmo. And then his sister comes, his age 1.5, becomes obsessed with Elmo. Did they choose to be? No, they didn't choose that. They're hardwired to become obsessed with Elmo, right? I was on TikTok and I was joking around, but like which is primarily what I use it for. But I was on TikTok joking around and I was saying because like somebody was making a joke about like black households, like in Black American, about how they'll save their Walmart bags. They'll save all their Walmart bags under the sink. You understand, or in one of the cupboards or drawers, whatever you call it. And then I do it, and like all the comments are a bunch of African and Caribbean people, and oh, we do this too, we do this too. It's like, okay, I didn't know I was hardwired to do this, but nobody told me to do it. I just went and did it. And in my head, I thought I was making a decision, but you know. Anyways, long ass answers tonight, y'all. Hey, quick question. Is offering always needed for prayer? No, no, no. Offering is not always needed for prayer. Let me explain when offering is necessary. I didn't break the OG, by the way, because it's night. And I didn't know this as of 1.5 years ago, but you don't break OG at night. Oh, oops. I used to break OG at night all the time. So, OG is not, or offering, no, not at all. It's not always, is offering, okay, when you are asking the Abara, specifically Abara, when you're asking the Abara for something, you give something to them in order to receive the thing. Throughout the ancient world, one of the most concrete and consistent lessons you will see in every single culture is do not take from spirit without paying. It's the story of Prometheus. That's what's going on with Prometheus. You know, I don't know if you guys know the story of Prometheus, where I think is it Prometheus that takes fire from the gods and goes and shows humans fire, and then they make it so he has to keep rolling a boulder up a hill while he's getting his liver poked out, things like that. There's a story of the story I might tell if you guys want to hear it, it's the story of the alligator, right? Why animals don't come around the alligator. It's the same story as Prometheus. It's the same thing, right? But there's this thing. So when we deal with the Abara, we give them something, right? Because the Abara are transactional. The Abara are transactional. In order for them to do, they will get, especially the female Abara, the female, when they're classified as female. Some of the male ones are not. Like Amadioha is not transactional. You don't really sacrifice to, you can sacrifice to Amadioha to show thanks or respect, but you don't, Amadioha will act whether or not you sacrifice. Ekwensu will act whether or not you sacrifice. Anyanwu will act whether or not you sacrifice. If you're dealing with Arobinagon, Allah, Nemiri, something must be given and then something is received. You understand? That's when sacrifice is necessary, right? 99.9% of the times, as far as Odinani people go, you don't pray to Abara. The Abara work for you. Do you understand that? I think that's something that's different about Odinani with other things. You don't pray to Abara. The Abara are working for you. You're not worshiping them. They work for you. They offer certain services, and if you need that service, you go to them, you pay them for their service, they go and act. They work, you're asking them to work for you. Most of the time when people go to Abara, it's almost like to settle a dispute or to solve an extremely difficult problem that other things have not solved, like maybe like extreme infertility, like extreme, I mean, infertility was a common one, right? So you'll have these children named Alakwe, not so much anymore because of the church, but names like Alakwe, which means Allah allowed it, right? You'll have children named Uswagon. Oftentimes, these children have these names because in the process of birthing them, somebody appealed to the Abara to make it happen. You appeal to the Abara when everything else hasn't worked. When everything else hasn't worked. That is the only real time you need to do a sacrifice. You're not going to need to do a sacrifice. Realistically, you're not going to need to do a sacrifice more than once every 2 years. I'm being for real, right? You don't got that many problems. You understand? More than twice. That's like I need to go do surgery. My gallbladder has an issue. A spiritual gallbladder, right? So you need to do spiritual surgery. Go to the specialist hospital, which is what an Abara is. And then, okay, fine, sacrifice. Sometimes the sacrifice is asked for, right? That kind of thing. But there are people who do sacrifices not because they need to, but because they want to. Okay. The easiest way to understand this is you have to remember our people today, in this modern day and in the past, traditionally killed their own food, right? I have a bunch of chickens. When it's time to eat chicken, I go get a chicken, I kill that chicken, right? Because I want to, I will give the blood to the ancestors. That this is your portion. This is your portion. The rest is my portion, our portion. It's not that if you don't do it, something bad will happen or that you need to do it to pray. It's just inclusivity. It's inclusivity. And aja, to sacrifice, is very, very powerful in building the connection or strengthening the connection, infusing life into the spirit, right? So blood is like a treasure trove of that. And so that's why they do it. You don't have to, you want to, right? So anytime I'm killing the chicken, okay, boom, and then we'll eat the rest. You understand? But one of the things, the reason I'm taking time with this answer is one, it's a full moon and we're doing whatever the hell we want. And two, I'm seeing this thing where people at home are leaving the church and they're entering Odinani, right? But they're entering Odinani with the fervor of a Christian, right? With the fervor of a Christian. So a Christian's own is there are certain things that get you closer to Jesus or get you favor with Jesus. And the more you do them, the better. The more fanatical you do it, the better. So if the Bible says pray, and person A prays 1 time a day, person B will pray 10 times a day, 1 to feel superior, 2 because they think the more they do it, the more they'll gain. That's the mentality over there, right? Okay, I'm not just going to go to church. Okay, I go to church 1 day. No, I'm going to go 3 days. I'm going to go for, I hired somebody for Kedu, and she was unbelievably talented. Unbelievably talented. Just an incredibly brilliant, diligent young lady, right? The only issue was she had to go to church 5 days a week. And sometimes it was like, I gotta go. It was like an addiction, right? And that kind of thing. This is when I can't really say it, but I'm a little more selective to make sure that the people I hire also match the worldview and ideology of the people who are joining the classes. Okay, that's the PR way to say it, right? Wink, wink. But that happens a lot with Christians. Happens a lot with Muslims. Like in Nigeria, you'll get people with that big scar on their head, and there is because they're trying to out pray the next. They think the more they pray, the more Allah points they'll get. The more Allah points they'll get. Right? They think that the more whatever is considered good in the religion more. So then you take that mentality and you come into a Denani. And now you're just killing people's chickens and goats for no reason, up and down every day. And you see this mumu on Facebook at the river with 5 dead chickens sitting next to them, 2 dead goats. Next day, 2 dead chickens, a duck. Next day, a cow. Like it's insane, right? But that's not what we're doing. That's not what it is. Okay, so these are the times sacrifice is done. If you are appealing to an Abara for help, and that Abara, usually the female Abara, for help, their nature is exchange based. Woman, the markets, the circulation, all these different things with women is this. There's this exchange. I give, I receive. I give, I receive. I give, I receive. Okay? That's just what's going on that end. You understand? The female Abara tend to take like if you need something from them, they take sacrifices. But it takes a lot for somebody to go to an Abara, right? Most of the time, Abara are used for like extreme health issues. And the first thing you're going to do, like in our traditional medicine class in Kedu, we teach the process of healing. Like, what's the process that Dibia follows? The first thing, and I've talked to several Dibias, I've witnessed them work. The first thing that happens at home is you use the solution that the community, the family knows works. Now, remember, you're living with 400 people. You're living with 200, 150. You're living with groups, your whole family. Any sickness you get, somebody in this group has gotten that sickness, and maybe they went to a dibia and the dibia told them take this herb and this and do that and drink it, right? And so you have the thing, oh, here, this is what I was told. You understand? That's why DBAs in the past, nobody's primary job was DBA. Nobody's primary, it was almost profitless. And it wasn't that it wasn't supposed to be whatever, but it's just that I give you the cure, then now you can now use that cure to cure people. So you go, that's why a lot of our mothers back home, even here in America, right? Even in America with the Black American community, if you hear that somebody has like uses one kind of roots or another to heal, it's always the mother, it's always the grandmother. It's always the mother, always the grandmother, right? You understand? So that thing becomes common knowledge. So the first thing in the healing process is what's the common knowledge solution to this thing? When you do the common knowledge solution, when the ordinary medicine doesn't work, now we check and see what's going on spiritually. Then you go to the dibia. You understand? The dibia will then examine what have you done and all these different things, right? This story is coming around, so bear with me. The dibia will examine what have you done in the process of finding a solution, right? What medicine have you taken? How are you living your life? This and this and that, right? And then the next thing the dibia will do will use his or her common sense solution to rectify that thing. Okay, when people come to me with this, it sounds like you have this. So when people come to me with this and I give them this, it works. Are you seeing how Odinani works? This is not based on what somebody believes or, maybe Chuku will use Chuku magic and make things happen. This is the last time I did this, the last 20 times I did this, the last 14 times I did this, it worked. So here we go. You understand? And before you even come to that dibia, your mother, your grandmother, your uncle, your cousin that had that same ailment and went to it and got medicine and it worked. They're giving you the one that works. So it's distilling the things that work over time. That's why no matter what somebody believes, they always fear African anything. They always fear, nobody will ever tell you African medicine doesn't work. They can just tell you because my pastor said so, I'm not allowed to touch it. But yeah, that shit's real, right? You understand? So as I was saying, the dibia will then use their thing. When that fails to work, the dibia then implores deeper into spirit. They can use divination at this point, afa. They can use all that. And this is when your extra natural, solutions kick in. You understand? Once afa or whatever method you use, it's usually afa now. Nowadays, it's usually afa. In the past, finding a person that did afa was more rare, but now it's more common, right? So once afa or whatever that extra method finds a solution, that solution is going to come with a medicine and a ritual, because at this point, because the medicine didn't work, there's something going on in spiritually, right? And then you do the healing process. If that doesn't work, then you go to the Abara. Right? Let's talk about like justice, because the Abara in our communities, they're courthouses. Okay, so you and I have a dispute. Maybe I stole your. I'll use a dispute that the last time I was in Nigeria, there was this beef. It was a really funny trial. We had a family trial, right? And the trial was bananas from my grandmother's land had dropped into the land of a grand aunt who she was beefing with. And because the bananas were on her land, she was claiming she has rights to the banana because my grandmother can't come on her land and take the banana anyway. My grandmother was saying and then it became this. It was most traditional courts, unless it's dealing with something like severe, like murder or like that kind of thing. Most traditional court is very funny, right? And so the first thing that does is we have somebody perform ipe, right? If the two of us can't come to a solution, we have somebody perform ipe. This is why the title system is so important. So an elder or somebody who has a title, which then makes them an elder, right? they will sit down and they will be the judge of the case, because in order to have a title, the community has already, and you as a person, the community has decided, and you as a person have declared that you have good character and good judgment and that kind of thing, right? I don't know why this thing wants to start acting all loose goose. Okay, we'll have to do like this there, right? So the titled person will sit down and perform Ikpe, which is you're a judge, you're hearing both cases. Traditionally, it's more of a reconciliatory justice. So whatever there was a tie between the two of you, the dispute broke the tie. What can we do to bring that tie back, right? So sometimes you'll get these judgments where like they have to hug, where they have to hug, all these different things, right? And so if for some reason the judgment that elder or that titled person gives is not satisfactory to you as the person, you can now perform a higher ipe where you have a council of judges, right? Council of judges will come, this and this and that, yada yada yada. Usually at this point, the person that holds the offall for your family becomes your representative in the trial. They almost become like your lawyer. You understand? And the reason they become your lawyer for many reasons: one, because they hold the offall, they can't lie, and then two, well, three reasons. Two, they're an elder, so like 70-year-olds don't they, they don't, you know what I mean? Just 60, 70-year-olds don't have time to be lying for your annoying ass, you know what I mean? And then three, because they're not emotionally attached to the issue, they can help in the reconcile. They can tell you, they can command you to reconcile. You understand, right? If that doesn't work, then you take it to the Abara, right? Then a sacrifice is done as part of the opening of the Abara, right? And Abara trials, depending on the Arashi, I'll say Arashi specifically, the Arashi trials you do, some of them are life or death. A lot of them are life or death. You understand? If you're guilty, you will die. You understand, right? And so because of that, people tend not to reach that point. That's why if you read Nigerian history, this Arochukwu shrine, Long Juju, that was a life or death shrine. But and later on we figured out it was just a big scam, and they were just using it to capture people and sell them into slavery. You understand? But that was one of the life or death ones. So if I know I'm guilty, I'm going to confess before we even reach Arochukwu. You understand? If I have sense, right? That kind of thing. So yeah, you don't need to sacrifice unless you're appealing to an Abara. Usually, you're trying to be professional. And more tells me to keep it real. I gotta start keeping it more real. Keep it unprofessional. Okay, hold on. There. Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah, that's what every other than those cases using appealing to Abara. Sometimes like certain rituals too, like when you're doing your calling down your chi, a sacrifice is given, right? It has to be given. When you're sometimes with your Nimiri, all these different elements, if there's a disturbance, a sacrifice has to be given, right? But you don't have to do it if you want to pray. It kind of has nothing to do with prayer, actually. It has nothing to do with prayer, right? It's like a fee. Think about it as a fee or a token of appreciation. All right, where are we at? Can you give a detailed description of the spiritual battle method utilized in the Ekumeku War? Thanks. These are such cool ass questions. I don't know if I have a lot of answers for that, because a lot of that war was fought secretly, like clandestine kind of what they would today call terrorism, right? And that kind of thing, guerrilla warfare. So Ekumeku is a general name. Even the Ekumeku, the term Ekumeku, is alluding to secrecy. Like they don't tell you their ways. You understand, right? So as far as its spiritual implementations in war, specifically for Ekumeku, it's hard to say. But I will say this: the word "nsi," which we can refer to as juju is also the word for poison. So a lot of poisoning was being done. A lot of biological warfare, chemical warfare, what we would now call biological warfare, what we would now call chemical warfare. In that time, they may have called it more, or they may have called it one thing or another, but now we have the word chemical that we use. We have the word biological that we use. If you look at when the thing's being described, it's like, oh, okay, they just gave everybody smallpox, that kind of thing. So there's that. I have more knowledge about like the weaponry and things like that that were used in like the spiritual implementations. I do know that, of course, in battle, a lot of most of our ancestors fortified themselves physically and spiritually, right? So that the spirit they're using to fight you is not that of a human, right? Maybe it's that of a Gwensu, maybe it's that of a Madioha, right? Something that's willing to go that extra step. And because of that, when you are able to fight with that level of trance, sometimes you a person can shoot you and you continue fighting, right? A person can stab you and you'll continue fighting, that kind of thing. Now you're fighting with a supernatural level of that kind of thing, right? And yeah, that as far as the Ekumeku goes, but again, spiritual, physical. The British had the machine gun, and that was the nuclear weapon of the time. So that was the nuclear bomb of the time, and they used that machine gun willingly and openly, freely, right? The Europeans were fighting the Africans for 400 years, about 400 years, and they could not penetrate Africa until the invention of the machine gun. Because people have this thing that, oh, the Europeans had guns. The Africans had guns too. So they would just be shooting back and forth. The Ashanti fought the British for close to 100 years, or probably a little over 100 years. The Ashanti Anglo Wars. 100 years. You understand? The difference maker was one, the British allied with all of the Ashanti's enemies, and then they were able to move in. And at that point, the Ashanti had become weaker. And then two, I want to say the machine gun too, right? But I know with Nigeria's case is they would go to a village, kill everybody, and then they go to the neighboring village, like, hey, you see what I just did over there? Play it cool. I won't do it to you. That kind of thing. That's how they were able to spread that kind of thing. It was a machine gun. So, spiritual or not, a machine gun is a machine gun. I'll give them. Yes, the spirit of lazy. Okay, wow, they're called demons. The spirit of laziness wants to rest. Yeah, what we're calling demons, you can describe them as vices. You can describe that there's a whole lot of ways if you do like demonology, where you're like studying demons, when you start looking at it, like, oh, okay, you know, what's the five seven deadly sins? Wickedness, envy, lust, hate, all that. If you look at what a demon is, that's what they are. They're things we experience, and they're spirits we interact with on a day-to-day basis, right? Sometimes these words make it feel distant, but don't forget that all of these words are describing real life. Now we know that we don't use demon to describe masquerade like Mao, and then not all of them are bad. You understand? Some of them are bad, some of them are not. There's Ajo Mo, and then there's Moama. You understand, right? Usually the ones that are bad, the women and children are not allowed to watch them. Uninitiated men in some communities are not allowed to watch them. The ones that are the demon ones, you understand. The But most of them, or a lot of them, are just an ancestral warrior spirit, an ancestor that became very wealthy in their lifetime. Just these different things, right? That kind of thing, or like a spirit. Like sometimes it'll be like a spirit that I guess would be bad, but it's so harmless, it's kind of funny, so it just becomes a comedy act. And then sometimes it's just theater. Sometimes it's just theater, right? Like playing there's one masquerade now in Anambra they call Ngige, and Ngige is one of the former governors, but he's become a masquerade now. There's because it's comedy, right? That kind of thing. So it's theater. You look like CJ from San Andrew. Hey, that was that wasn't even a good one. The funniest "you look like" I've ever got in my whole life. I was in Houston, and I'm driving down the road, and there was this homeless man on this particular intersection who would always antagonize me specifically. Like he'd always come at me. People, homeless people always really, really, really like me or randomly want to beef with me, right? But he would always, but this one, it wasn't like a hate. It was like he thought it was like, he's a bully. The guy's a bully, right? And so I'm driving to work, right? And I'm wearing my little tie and shit. Maybe that's what it was, looking like a dork or something. And so I'm driving, and then he'd be like, he'll bypass all the white people and come right to me, like, I'd be like, no, I'm good, man. And then he'll insult me and walk off. And the funniest one I ever got was he's like, he did a little thing. I'm like, no, I'm cool, man. And he goes, George Foreman looking motherfucker. So I opened the car door like I'm gonna chase him, and he starts walking fast and laughing. But yeah, we had like a Tom and Jerry thing going on at one point. It was yeah. So anyways, that's my own life, anyways. But yeah, I've never heard CJ from San Andreas. I've heard all types of stuff though. But yeah, have you have a question? What did Jesus mean when he said the things with the dog? Sorry, don't remember the verse. I'm not a Christian. I don't know too much about verses and stuff. Oh wow. What is the Igbo view on neurodivergence? Okay, neurodivergence is so big and vast and wide that you would have to be kind of specific on what divergent is. I will say this, there's the idea that there's a general idea that the way someone is created is the way their chi created them. And their chi has the reason why it made him that way. There's a really good Elu that says it. I'm trying to remember what it is. Um, there's a really good Elu that says it. I can't remember what it is, right? So I don't the general culture and mentality around like, and then like what are we calling like let me say extreme neurodivergence, right? Because like, there's a bunch of crazy MFers walking. If you're in Nigeria for 3 seconds, you'll know that there's some real neurodivergence going on. So when it's a really extreme, when it's very extreme neurodivergence, you have a big community. So getting care is not as hard as it is in the West, where it's like it's you and your parents. And if your parents aren't cool, then you're kind of screwed until you can take care of yourself, or maybe the government will come in. But you have a big community. I have an uncle that has schizophrenia, right? And again, like if we're gonna do like things like autism and all those different things, it would be hard for me to give you an answer because in the eye there, it's not that's they don't there's too much going on for them to be focusing on things that a person can have and still live a fairly normal life, right? Like nobody's gonna be like, oh, I have ADHD, you know. But like schizophrenia, that kind of thing. Even bipolar, it's just, oh, that's just how she is, that's just how he is, that kind of thing. But I have an uncle that had schizophrenia. He wakes up he stares at the wall long times. Actually just recently passed away. Then he'll walk around the town. He'll go to the market. He'll go to the market a lot and pick up stuff, and then he'll come home, and maybe after 2, 3, sometimes 4 days, somebody in the family will bathe him, shave him, get him some fresh clothes, wash his clothes, and then he'll do his cycle again. So you have a community, so that helps a lot. But the here, this is what I wanted to show you. If you ever get the chance, get this book. It is called Healing Insanity, a study. A study to Igbo medicine and contemporary Nigeria. Our traditional medicine class is based in large part on this book, right? In large is the author. He's a medical doctor and a Dibia. He's a medical doctor. If you meet anybody who is both educated in the Western way and in the traditional way, you have met an amazing gem of a person, right? So this book is incredible. It goes through like different diagnoses, like ancestral, like traditional. I don't want to say traditional, but like from the Igbo medicine point of view, there are diagnoses here that we don't have in the West. But there are diagnoses in the West we don't have in here. And then there are some that overlap, but we just kind of like have different ways of describing it culturally, right? Like in this one, there's a thing called arauke, for example, arauke, which is like group madness. And this is a mental illness that a person, because this is specifically called Healing Insanity, right? Healing Insanity is the book. Get this book. Get this book. It's amazing. So arauke is group madness, and it is a mental illness that kicks in when a person, either because a person belongs to a group or because a person wants to belong to a group. So the way ara, or mental illness, madness as it's translated, is defined in this particular book is something that makes you veer away from the community, right? Madness makes you veer away from the community. If you can still interact with the community, with your family, and that kind of thing, whatever you have is not ara. You're just like, I guess, what the Americans would call quirky, right? And quirky, like, there's some quirky MFers out. Some quirky ass. I have one aunt that can stand at her, like, in front of her door and cuss somebody out, no exaggeration, from sunrise till, like, as in everybody will just go about their business, and she'll keep going and going and going and going and going. And of course, that starts a new round of fights with the new people and that kind of thing. But she can just do that. Now, if she was in America, she'd be in jail. But at home, it's just okay. That's her. Now I can see it with my adult mind that there's something going on there, right? But Arauke is group madness, right? So it is a psychiatric. I like this light. This light is better than the yellow light. The yellow light was weird, but Arauke is a psychiatric, like a mental illness where it kicks in because you want to belong to a group or because you belong in a group, and because you belong in that group, you either become what we would call fanatical. Like you become fanatical about this group identity to the point where you lose your normal identity, right? And one of the dangers of arauke is that people can use arauke to make people do things to other people, right? I think about gangs, right? You, you wouldn't classify joining a gang as a mental illness, but that's arauke. Cults, religions, right? Anytime somebody tries to come at me with arauke ass energy, I always try to douse it down. I'm not with all that weird shit, right? Somebody told me that I should start like an Odinani church. I told them that your Odinani church is your family. You understand? That's your church. You understand? It ain't got nothing to do with me. You understand? I can walk you to a point, but then after that, you got to go to your people, right? So Arauke is one that I don't think we have anything like that in the West. I could be wrong. There's like a DSM-5 that I have never looked at before. Um, when I was studying psychology, we were on the DSM-4. I don't remember anything looking like that, right? There's Ara. Let me go look at some of the other diagnoses because this is like it's one of the most interesting parts about this book. I'll read one more. I think I'm spending too much time on this one. There's Arago, which is when like you're supposed to like your algo starts like attacking you. You understand? It's because you have a purpose and you're not following that purpose, or you're doing the opposite of that purpose, or you're doing something like opposite of that purpose, right? You're doing something detrimental to that purpose. So then your algo reaches this point in your life where it attacks you, and your perception of reality shatters. It can lead to like extreme paranoia, signs that look like schizophrenia and mania, but they're not schizophrenia. They're not schizophrenia because they can go away and go away permanently. Schizophrenia doesn't go away permanently, right? So like mania, kind of, it looks like mania, but it's not the same thing, right? Aranguro, which is just addiction to substances. Where's another one? I'm trying to find one that's like Araoka. Araoka. Why am I saying that wrong? Oh no. Kaikuoka. Araoka, right? Araoka. Araoka is like talking insanity. Where you ever meet somebody just yeah, a lot of white people have this. A lot of white people have this. You know, I remember I was at Walmart with my wife. No, I was at Kroger with my wife, and this woman with a big cross came and said, "Oh, you're a lovely couple." I'm like, "Oh, thanks." Yeah, my daughter-in-law, no, my daughter just started dating her cousin, and they're thinking about getting married. And me and my wife were like, "What the fuck?" And like, this isn't their first time around. At this point, there's not much I can do. And she just kept talking about how her daughter wants to marry the cousin, and the cousin is even older than the daughter, but the daughter doesn't want to listen, that the daughter is the one that wears the pants and this and that. And we're just like, what the fuck? That's a lot of white people do that. That's our, right? So outside of the ara, it also has like things like possession, like like not demonic, sorry, spiritual possession, being possessed by one spirit or another. There is one spirit that possesses you. I made a video. Okay, so check out my video. Is it Ara explained or Ogun? Ogun explained. OGWU. Go watch that video. Because I was telling the story in the video, and in the video, I was talking about this particular Ara that you can have where you become so envious. So envy is like what opens the door. And your envy keeps building and building and building. And then your thoughts enter this kind of dangerous place. You understand? And one of the things as he's describing this, I remember that, I interview with Lil Boosie, where he's like, that he can't go to Louisiana because that people are hypnotized with hate, that the people you grow up with as you become so successful, they're watching TV, you're on the TV, their kids love you, their wife loves you, they go outside, you're on the billboard, all these different things. And then all of a sudden he's becoming hypnotized with hate, That's why, like, a lot of people, if you look historically, a lot of people get assassinated by people they're close to. A lot of people get assassinated by people they grew up with. A lot of people get assassinated in their hometown. A lot of people figure out that their hometown is the most dangerous place for them to be, right? I remember my brother is very, very successful. And I remember he reached a point where part of why he moved was like, if something's going to happen, it's going to happen here. So, because a lot of little weird talk started happening just because of his hypnotized with hate. So Boosie described it as hypnotized with hate, right? But it's a diagnosis here as well, right? Where you become so jealous you lose your damn mind. So yeah, if you want to learn about neurodivergence, this is a good one. I also would recommend you check out my Obanje video. Excuse me, my voice is getting dry. My Obanje video, because I made a video on Obanje, and I'm just gonna be blunt. I made a video on Obanje, and I got no less than between 8 to like 11 messages, emails, that kind of thing, from people who were either autistic or trans or both. And they consistently said, "That's me. You're talking about me." I didn't want to say that I was a mermaid because people would think it was weird. So now, I'm not saying that that's what it is, right? I'm not saying that that's what it is, but this is the response I got. And there's these things in Odinani that growing up, I just thought were goofy, right? I thought Obanje was goofy. I didn't think Obanje is one of those things that, like, it's not like a hidden thing. It's still very commonly talked about, right? And I thought it was goofy. I thought it was very goofy. You understand? It's like, okay, there's probably some scientific blah, blah, blah that they're not understanding and that kind of thing. That kind of ignorant mentality, And when I released that, I started believing in Obanje in the process of making that video. And then the 2 weeks after, people just messaged, "That's me. That's me. Yes, I had a friend in my previous life. They died, but I didn't have the words to describe it." I'm just like this. I've said it a few times, maybe in our group study on Patreon. Patreon.com/The Medicine Show. Join the group study, guys. Seriously, join the group study. I've said it a few times on the group study. What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. The things I believed in least have taught me the most. So I remember when I released my Obanje video, I had a like you'd go to their profile, it'd be like autistic trans, it's just, I'm not diagnosing, I'm not saying, it's just the pattern I was getting, right? So it told me there's a lot more going on than what the West is ready to describe, right? There's a lot more going on than what the West is ready to describe, right? It's just what I ended up seeing on my end. It actually made me want to restart my studies in psychology and that kind of thing, because I want to know more, right? That kind of thing. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that, by the way? Love your book recommendations. Yeah, I'll keep doing it. I'll do my, yeah. Hey, why did your friend become an atheist after rediscovering? Hey, why did you friend become, I think you said he's super into metaphysics or something. Maybe I know I'm really behind on the chat, but Rasan, can you remind me of the friend that became an atheist? Can you remind me of the friend that became an atheist that's super into metaphysics? I there's a proverb, there's an ilu back home that says that Mbe the tortoise wears his guitar on his back in case he meets other musicians, right? So in doing the medicine shell, I have began wearing my guitar on my back because this is my interest. This is who I am. This is what my chi brings out of me, right? And gives me and uses to give me life and that kind of thing is this, right? And as I wear this guitar on my back, I've gotten to the point where everybody who's in my circle now is into metaphysics, right? Everybody who's in my circle now. So that describes every single friend I have right. Because I've now met other musicians that are like me and that kind of thing, right? Which, by the way, word of advice, wear your guitar on your back. Seriously. Wear your guitar on your back. When you wear your guitar on your back, you meet other musicians. As you meet other musicians, you begin to really experience life. So I these conversations I have with you guys, listen, you guys will ask me questions. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, this is a long question. I'm like, listen, you don't understand. You don't understand. I've been trying to talk about this for like 15 years. Nobody's interested. You're interested. I'm gonna answer this long ass question you got. You understand? So it's not. Whenever you guys send me them long ass questions, I appreciate it. It's not a bad thing. This is what I like to talk about. This is the guitar, right? That kind of thing. In the past, I would just force my little brothers to listen. I'd force my wife to listen. I'd force my sister to listen. I'd just be like, hey, listen, hey, I just figured this shit out. Blah, I'm like that kind of thing. So yeah. My mom, surprisingly, right? My mom told me. My mom's a big fan of the channel, right? Um, and she told me that if she wasn't that she knows that if she didn't get into the church, she would have been a Debia, right? That all the things I'm talking about on the channel she's with that shit. My mom's like a Christian. So another thing too, and I say this, everybody that does like all these new agey kind of things will say, oh, it's not a religion, it's not a religion. Well, Denani is not really a religion. So you can be an atheist and be into a Denani, right? It's not a religion. It's just like a word that is like ancestral thought. That's all it is. It's just collective cultural thought of this group of people. So it's not, you can approach it religiously, you can approach it non-religious, same thing. So yeah. The acorn contains a mighty oak. Fred, that was a great elu. I'm stealing that from you. Thank you. Hi, what is an Igbo process for finding out? What is the Igbo process for finding out they're dirty governing their head? Okay. Similar to Ifa, or okay. Ifa Orisha's head crown or voodoo fa. Oh, figuring out what's governing your head. Okay. So that governing your head thing is how they describe discovering or learning your agun, or connecting with your agun. That's your agun. That governing your head thing is your agun, right? the uri, the agun comes with the chi, that kind of thing. That is your agun. Okay, so we use anytime I'm talking about agun, that's what I'm talking about. Similar, right? Or the closest parallel. You understand? So but one of the things that I tend to see in voodoo or voodoo and Ifa is that the thing that's governing your head is like, I think it's almost always an abara, right? And Igbo people, there are specific people that are connected to abara, and they're usu. They're specific people. It's not everybody. It's not everybody. Everybody's connected to their chi. So I would have to have an Ifa person explain to me how Oshun and your Uri are both governing your head. Okay. But that I think is closer to what we would describe as like Agon. Because I think the governing head thing is tied to, I don't, you know what? Let me not say it has anything to do with Agon. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Cancel all that Agon stuff I was saying earlier because I just thought about it more. I'm like, wait, no. No, cancel that. I don't know about the governing head thing. Ndibo say, "Owa bụ mmadụ na chi ya." This world is each person and their chi. This world is each person and their chi. Just keep it that simple. There are some people who are directly connected to one abara or another. Those people in our culture are referred to as osu. You understand, right? They're osu. So if I want to interact with that abara, I would go to that person because they're connected to that. They're connected to it, right? That kind of thing. But it's not just that everybody has like, oh, I'm the child of Amadioha. I'm the child of Eric and Stella. Yes. Ah, shit. What is the Igbo process? Okay, we already got that. Are Igbo, Idioma, Ibibio related people? Yes, but Idioma and Ibibio people will be very stupid about it. So they're very stupid about it. And they'll probably argue because they have ego. But yes, they're related. We're all related. You understand? But all of the groups in Nigeria have a lot of ego. You understand? And so they're hesitant to draw connection to each other because it might lead to the implication that one has primacy over the other, right? So historical fact, Igbo is the oldest group in Nigeria. You understand? Most of the groups in southern Nigeria are just Igbo people that left at different times. If you tell this to any of them, they'll flip the fucking table. It's just the DNA, archaeology, everything points to this fact. They don't want to hear it. If you ask them, they're the original one. You know, we're the original ones and everything. So in Nigeria, everybody's got this thing going on where nobody wants to give each other way. You understand? Because they don't want to get flexed on. And in Africa, the being older is a mark is a mark of pride, right? So that kind of thing. Big Mama always got the recipe. Say, I know. Same thing going on at home. Same thing going on at home. You know, I have this discussion sometimes with a lot of Black Americans, and you know, I'm beginning to question this idea that your African culture was lost, right? Maybe like the fabrics, right? But your general approach to dressing is still the same thing. Like I'm kind of pulling away from this idea that culture is physical. I don't think culture is physical. I think culture is, as the definition says, excuse me, like philosophies, attitudes, approaches, that kind of thing. The spirit of a people. And that spirit sometimes spits out physical material. But the physical material is not your culture. It's just a product. You understand? It's a product. Okay? So a lot of the African products were taken from people here in America. The things that look African, look at whatever that means, right? Because we can say look African based off of a narrow tie-dye is African. Tie-dye is from Yoruba. Do you understand? But you know, we don't not everybody knows that, you know, that kind of thing. But when I see them Greek, the divine nine, and how they have them trees and they wrap the tree around, they color the tree and they do the thing, that's Odinani. That's regular. Go to any shrine at home. It's a tree that's been painted or has a cloth around it. It's the same thing. That's just ozo, nze ozo. That's all it is. You understand? But it doesn't have the. You're not wearing a red cap, so is it African? But the red cap is not the African thing. I don't think the red cap is the African thing. I think the inclination to say that this tree is going to be blah 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 for us, and we're going to do this and that. That's the culture. That's culture. So I begin, even like you just said, Big Mama's always got the recipe. That's a part of the traditional healing process at home. Step one, go to Big Mama. We have a different way of saying it, but step one, go to Big Mama, right? No, step one, go get some Tylenol. Go get some Tussin, right? Step one, go get some Tussin. The Tussin don't work, go to Big Mama. That's same thing I just described, right? So I think the amount that was lost is overestimated. And I think these things come from the spirit. They don't come from the brain. So you can't take things of the spirit. The spirit will recreate them again. It'll recreate them again, right? Spirit is like a gust of wind. You understand? When you see a gust of wind hit the leaves, you don't see the wind, you just see the leaves kick up. But if the wind is going east, the leaves will go east. If the wind is going east and it's a bunch of paper, the papers will go east, right? So a person would say, oh, my culture, my true culture is leaves flying in the air. And now it's paper flying in the air. No, your true culture is a wind that makes things fly in the air. That's your culture. You understand? And if you understand it from that level, the level of spirit, you'll know that all the little, oh, okay, this one has a hat that folds this way, this one has a hat that folds that up. It's not, you know what I mean? I'm here talking about Agon. What do they call it in Hoodoo? Two-headed doctor. What is Agon? Two-headed spirit. You know? Whatever. When last you been in Nigeria? Oh, it's been a long time, Paul. It's been a long time. I haven't been in Nigeria since, I think, 2017, which is insane. So I am working on going back pretty soon, though. I'm working on going back pretty soon. The past few years was difficult because again I took a big leap, and that leap made me pretty broke. And I existed in a state of broke for a pretty consistent time, but things are picking up and now I can travel. You understand? So I'll probably be going pretty soon. Um, Not like soon, 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 like the next few months or anything like that, but I'll be going pretty soon. I'm hoping that once I go, I'm not hoping, once I go, it'll now become a regular thing, right? After that, I'll become more regular. I'll be doing episodes from home and everything like that. One of my big inspirations for wanting to work for myself was I want to be able to live at home uninterrupted by uh, work. Being that offering isn't always needed, does that mean, okay, being that offering is not always needed? Being that offering is not always needed. Does that mean that there's a specific method or way of conducting to pray ancestors that you know the names of? Yeah, absolutely. Uche, olive uche, absolutely, absolutely. Um, if you're a Christian, a lot of it can kind of parallel, right? But I'll say, as far as Odinani goes, right? When you're praying, you give acknowledgement to all of everything that made the moment possible, right? This is your ancestors. I include God. I say Chineke, right? I say Allah. I include the earth, Allah. I include Igwe. This is what I choose to include. And I include my ancestors and I include different. You guys have heard me do pretty much the same Iwaji over and over, right? Once I think one of the differences between like a Christian prayer right, is that you give all your acknowledgments first and then you begin to speak, right? So for example, even Olive, right? I mean, I don't know if you live in the US, but in the US, right? If you don't live in the US, you can walk up to somebody and just say, "Hey, where's the bus?" And they'll go over there, right? Or you can just walk into a room, look at the exact person you want to talk to and say, do you know where I can find some batteries? And they'll say upstairs. And then you'll go upstairs, right? But at home for Americans, in back home, if I walk into a room full of people, especially if they're elders or just people, unless like little kids, I'm greeting each and every person before I even talk about batteries. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. No, no, no. And then okay, wait a little bit. Where can I find the batteries? Big, I don't know what's your batteries. You understand? And then from there, I go get the batteries. Right now, when I come back home, I have to slow down because my normal American brain is gonna tell me, um, "Oh, you're looking for your dad. Hey, have you seen my dad? You know that kind of thing." And that's rude at home. So that's the same way we do prayer. Before you even say anything, you give acknowledgments to your ancestors. You're greeting them. Anamekelenge, this person, anamekelenge, that kind of thing, that kind of thing, that kind of thing. Greeting is sacred in Africa. You know that, Olive Uche. I don't need to tell you that, right? It's sacred at home. So just use that African mind and pray. That's all it is. Use the African mind and pray. You understand? You know, all right, God, I need, you don't do that. You understand? You don't do that, you know? Giving acknowledgments, then we begin. Right? And you take your time. You take your time with each acknowledgement. It comes from the heart when you do it, right? You don't just bust in the room full of elders and say, "Hey, which one of you left the thermostat on or whatever?" I don't know. Libation drinks offerings. Hey, Ray X, nice seeing you. I make sure the libation, I guess, base it off of. Okay, makes sense. Sounds more humane. Not George Foreman. You know how Africans always say, they can tell where people come from, like, "Oh, you're one of my people." Like, I'm sure like a lot of Black Americans have probably heard that from different African people, right? "Oh, you're probably from my place," that kind of thing. And then when Black Americans make jokes, everybody, we do this in Africa, is a common form of joking. You look like this. You look like this. You blank looking ass blank. Whenever there are certain celebrities or certain people, they'll say I look like, but they're really just saying I look Igbo. But they don't know that's what they're saying. You understand? They'll say they're saying I look Igbo, but they're gonna call me a George Foreman. Oh man. So yeah. Sometimes like this who's this Wesley Snipes looking, blah blah blah. You're just saying that looks Yoruba. That's all you're saying. He looks Yoruba. Where are we at? Can you please explain the concept of Agun Sorochim Sochim? Okay, yeah. Agun Sochim is the thing I've been calling your Agun. Okay, is the thing I'm calling your Agun. So in Odinani, the general idea is that you are made of four essences. One is your chi, one is Eke. The next is your Agun. You see that your Agun and your chi are separate. You see that? They're separate. This was the chi, this was the Agun. And then the last one is Mo. Okay? So another name for Agun is Mo Sorochim or Agun Sorochim, right? Your Agun is also referred to as your Onyowa, your Onyowa, your Chiwa, your Chiwa. Okay? I use the terms I use because I don't want to confuse people. Because a lot of the terms overlap, but there's a reason they overlap, right? Your Agun is your Chiwa because it is doing your chi's bidding in the world. Okay? It is doing your chi, is your Chiwa, your worldly chi. You understand? Okay? It is your Onyowa because it is the part of you that reincarnates. It is your worldly person, that one that keeps returning, right? It is your Onilo. Your Onilo is another name for Agun because it is the person you were in the past life, and you share that essence together. You guys have that same essence. Your chi and that person's chi are different, but your Agun is the same. Okay? Your what was another one? Right? What was I gonna say? And then Mo so or Agun Sochim is just another name for Agun. Because in the process of reincarnation, your Agun begins the process of returning. And in order to begin the process of returning, it is given a mission, or is redubbed its mission by your chi, or its purpose, its essence, it's whatever you want to call it, right? Sometimes when I say purpose and mission, it sounds like you're coming to do one specific thing. That's not what it is. Sometimes it'll be like you'll grow 8,100 hairs in your head. That's part of that's your agon, right? You'll have a little mark right here, a little birthmark right there. That's your agon. All of that is agon, right? So when I say purpose, if you said birthmark is purpose, it wouldn't make sense in English, right? But it's all connected. So that agon that is following your chi into the world is the same. It's your agon. It's just your agon, which is the thing you share with the previous person. Your agon, your chiwa, and your chi are not the same. Celeste Nuku has a song that says Ilo Abruchi, which is Ilo, your returning person, your agun, your chiwa, your agun sorochi, or your agun sochi is not your chi. You understand? So I try not to use those terms that have overlaps because I don't want to confuse people, because that's what it tends to do. It will confuse somebody that doesn't understand it well. Can you talk about the more named Ohuhe? Yes, Ohufe. Yeah, it's the same as Amadioha. Ofufe is the same as Amadioha. Some communities will call it Ofufe. Some communities will call it Ekwensu. Some communities will call it Anyanwu, right? Some communities will have both Anyanwu and Ekwensu, or Anyanwu and Amadioha, and it makes sense, right? So what is that? The entire universe is balanced by a principle called Offall na Ugu. Offall. Now, this kind of looks like an Offall. There's Offall. I'm going to use this to say Ugu. My hands are going to be Ugu, right? Offall is a sacred binding principle or law. Okay? Offall is a sacred binding principle or law. Offall is my last name, Offall Derenwa. The Offall is within the child. You understand, right? Offall is what law grows from, is what principles grow from, is what morals and virtues grow from. It's what reality grows from. The things we all commonly agree on, the things we agree on with the earth. The agreement is the Offall, right? Ogu is the spirits, the more of Offall. Okay? Picture this as the more of this Offall, right? Meaning that when you are in balance with this Offall, you are in balance with its more, which is Ogu. When you are out of balance with this Offall, you are out of balance with its spirit, which is Ogu. Okay? So the example I always use, I have a video called Offall Explained, okay? And so the example I used is an apartment agreement. An apartment agreement, okay? If you move into an apartment, you and the apartment complex will form an Offall. This Offall says, I'm going to pay X amount every month, or I'm going to pay X amount every year. That Offall is going to say, I will not have animals living with me, right? Now, if you have animals, if you are following your Offall and the apartment complex wants to kick you out of that apartment, says, hey, even though you've paid and you don't have any animals, get out. I don't like you. If you appeal to justice, which is the spirit of the Offall, justice will place you back into the apartment. Because now the power is not between you and I, it is between the Offall. There's an Offall between us, right? So if I am following the Offall, the spirit of the Offall will place me back in the house. But I must appeal to justice using the arushi that the community uses to channel justice. In the West, the arushi is called the courthouse, right? At home, the arushi is called ipe, or sometimes specifically an arushi, right? But that justice process, like that mechanism we devise to bring the spirit of justice forward. This will put me back in the place, right? But let's say I have animals in the house, right? I have animals in the house. And the apartment complex says, hey, you got to get out. And I say, no. If we appeal to justice, the spirit of justice will say, take this fool out. And will take me and throw me out with my animals because I have violated the Offall. Okay? Remember this. On the level of nature, Allah, the earth, is the Offall. That's why at home you can take sand and swear, and it's binding. Sand is ajana, is binding. That's why sand is binding at home. Sometimes when you do your traditional wedding, if your father is what we in America refer to as a real nigga, if your father is a real nigga, he'll take some sand and he'll bless you with that sand, with the soil. He'll tell you, there's this girl, somebody, her dad said something along the lines of, these are the sands that your mothers and your foremothers walked on. That they will guide you in your new home. They will do that kind of thing, right? It's binding. Once you hold that sand in your hand, it's binding. It is Offall. Allah is an Offall. If you Google Offall, O-F-O, and look at all the pictures and look hard, you'll see that it's a woman. It's a woman, and the woman will have some type of structure of three. So 1, 2. Then you look at any statue of Allah, or I'm sorry, 2, 3. She always has a structure of 3 on her face, right? Sometimes it'll be depicted as big earrings. Sometimes it'll be depicted as lobe-like hair. Sometimes it'll be like 2 daughters and then her, but the 3 heads are Allah. You understand? I'll get into that. I'll do like a geometry video. The next video I'm doing is on numerology, by the way. It's on ancestral numerology. It's coming out soon, right? So as I was saying, right? Allah is the Offall. Allah is the Offall. And then her husband is Ogun. One community will call Ogun Amadioha. Another community will call Ogun Ekwensu. Another one will call Ogun Anyanwu. Another community will call Ogun Ofufe, Kalu, Kamalu, Njoku. All these different ones, and they're always the husband of the land. They're always the Diala. They're always the Diala. Right? They're always the Diala. Okay? Or the Dioha. The Amadioha. Right? Husband of the people, husband of the land. Right? That kind of thing. So Ogun, when you violate Allah, Amadioha, when you if justice is appealed to, Amadioha will determine whether you stay in that apartment or you get thrown out. Okay, so that's kind of what that is. I hope that made sense. Arauke cults. Yes, Arauke cults, the military, gangs, or not the military for everybody, but it's when it's like that thing that kicks off when you join that thing where you just lose yourself in it. Or you want to be in it so bad you lose yourself in it, right? You want to be in it so bad you lose yourself in it, right? You see these, like maybe you have like a social group and they have a particular aesthetic, and then you have a person outside of the social group who will tear their whole self and body apart to belong to that social group, or who will go through any extreme just to get into that social group. That's arauke. So that's a mental illness that our ancestors identified that I don't think is identified in Western medicine. Yeah? Where are we at? Please, what was the book on neurodivergence? I think I'll show it again. Healing Insanity, a study of Igbo medicine in contemporary Nigeria. The author, I think, is Patrick Iroebu. Yeah, Patrick E. Iroebu. It's green. Okay. Think that live on LOL. Yeah. Cool. How do you find your chi? Olavuche, that's such a good question. Your chi is always with you. Your chi is always with you. Your chi is your first voice. Your chi is the hardest thing to not find. Your chi is the hardest thing to not find. Your chi is the hardest thing to not find. It's the other way around. You don't have to find your chi. It's there. Okay? I hope that meant something to you. Yeah? Your chi is your first voice. Your chi is that thing that says, I don't trust that guy. Your chi is the one that says, when you do something you love and you get this light, it feels good. That kind of thing, right? When you enter an environment, I don't know, or you enter an environment, yes, these are your people. These are your people. Maybe he's watching. If you're watching, Doctor, peace to you. I didn't realize how much of my formative development was at the hands of, not the hands, but like was influenced by like very Pan-African Gen Xers, right? A lot of influence, be it through music, all these different things, very like pro-black, very pro-black Gen Xers, right? And I was around one the other day, and I was like, this is my people, like, well, I don't know, you guys can hear me. It's just reconnected. I was around one the other day, and it felt comfortable. It felt natural. It felt cool. It was like, yeah, I'm with my people, right? That kind of thing. That's your chi. That's your chi. So you don't have to find that. You understand? You don't have to look for that. It's always talking to you. It's always talking to you, right? I think the only way to not find your chi or to be lost from your chi is, I don't know, like maybe like some kind of extreme self-denial, refusal to believe in yourself, refusal to have faith in yourself, not trusting self-sabotage, self-doubt, all those different things. Like sometimes you'll have a feeling about something and you process it as guilt, maybe because of like a trauma or the way what you experienced in life. And it's like maybe the natural process of it is not guilt. Like some things you need to be guilty about, but maybe the natural process of feeling offended by something, like somebody offends you, but then you feel guilty because they offended you, right? That's kind of going against your chi, I think, right? So it's the chi is the thing that's hardest to not find, if that makes sense. Did you see the video from the 20v1 where the woman had the deep voice that was very huge? Yeah. I saw that. Yeah. Shit. No, them boys are stupid. Her voice is fine. You know, her voice is fine. Yeah, but I saw that. That shit was kind of funny. We see many parallels. Yeah, okay, so we see many parallels between hoodoo, voodoo, our spirituality, even elements of the church. Listen, you go to any black church in Jamaica, go to any black church in North America, go to any black church in Barbados, go to any black church in Brazil, then go to a church in Ireland. And you'll see, they're like, oh, this is all us. Do you know what religion is, right? Whatever you believe in is going to work for you. Whatever you believe in is going to work for you. You understand? Because ultimately, you're just pouring yourself into a cup, right? You're just pouring yourself into a room. You're pouring yourself into a book. You're just communicating with your chi. So any religion that you believe with and mesh with is ultimately just you and your chi. That's ultimately what it is, right? So when you get African people and you tell them to go into a Protestant church and behave Protestant, then you open the door and there's a lot of going on and then you go to the Oshun River and you see the clapping, and you go to Njaba River and you see the clapping, you see the same thing, it's not the book. It was never the book. You understand? Wherever you put wherever you put salt, it's gonna get a little saltier, right? It's what it is, right? You're just putting yourself, and then you may develop a love for that thing because so much of you is in it. You're seeing so much of yourself in it, right? That kind of thing. But ultimately, if you believe it, it's gonna work, right? That kind of thing. So find the one that works. Usher looks Igbo, but Usher looks like he's from my mom's side of the family. They look like they look like him. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is there any Odinani practice that a man does before moving into his newly constructed house? Yes, yes, yes. Yes. You would need to greet the land, right? You need to greet the land because she is a woman. You offer her something, right? People will pour libations, that kind of thing. People will typically pour libations, and there will be some people will pour libations, excuse me, at all four corners of the property, right? Or just pick a central part in the property and bless the home, right? We will have this, it'll be this, it'll be that, it'll be that kind of thing. Now, this ceremony where you're pouring these libations is very important, right? Because you're also inviting your ancestors into this home. You're inviting your ancestors into this home. You are greeting the spirits that you're encountering that are already here, letting them know you're coming, hey, we're coming in peace, we're good people, that kind of thing. So you're really, it's more of the intensity and the amount of things you include, but what you offer differs. I like when I moved to this new place I'm at, I offered cola nuts and I offered honey, like water with honey in it, right? That kind of thing. So I just offered those two things. And bitter cola. I remember I gave all of them. I put it in the earth and that kind of thing. So anything someone wants to do to us in this house, we are fortified. We are fortified. Now there are other things. There are more like higher level things you can do, right? If you want to take it there, certain trees and plants you can plant to begin the process of living there. I would have, okay, so I would advise, like I have an outdoor altar. So part of the outdoor altar is wherever I go, I'm going to plant something, right? I'm going to plant something. So you would plant a new tree there or plant a new plant there to kind of, in the sacred space of the new house or the new land, right? That kind of thing. So that's really that. Some people will have like a DPA come and help them do all that. The higher level stuff, but the normal basic one is you offer something and you invite your ancestors in and you let them know what it's going to be like as you're living here. So we're going to have peace. We're going to grow. We're going to prosper. Anything we touch will succeed. Anywhere we go, well, you just really just throw that shit on. Boom, 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 boom. Again, go to any black church. That's what the prayer sounds like. Anywhere in the world. You go to the Irish church, not really. It's not really that, it's not really sounds like. You go to the Swedish church, not really, right? That kind of thing. This thing of saying amen in the middle of the prayer. Something, amen. Something, amen. Amen. You go to my village. There he said, there he said, there he said. That's what it is. That's what it is. So keep doing what you've been doing, but just do it in a more intentional way, right? Because sometimes when we put on somebody else's clothes, we put on somebody else's germs, right? Damn. Okay, wait. I'm African American. I started dreaming about Nzu this past year. A lot of significance there. A lot of significance there, Jennifer. A lot of significance there. So sometimes it would be nice to, if you're comfortable sharing, you don't have to share the context of what's going on in your life, but Nzu can represent a lot of things. Nzu is water in stone form, right? So it represents Nemiri. Nemiri also represents the children of the water. Could be something connected to your Onyemiri, you're a water child. Could also mean that you're about to have a child. Could also mean that there's a child on the way in the family, right? Those are all the things it may allude to or signify, right? But I don't know you well enough to say it's that. That's what it means, right? So, and honestly, I think it's better if people, and this is just my own opinion, it's not like canon anywhere, but people reading their own dreams, I think, is a lot more powerful. Right? Concept of keeping a holy day, yes. Like if you were born on a Eke day, should you keep that day holy? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So communally, everybody keeps Eke day. You don't do anything on Eke day, right? As a community. but that's been disrupted because of colonialism and church. And I count them as separate because most of the damage was done by the church specifically. Now, the colonialists barely touched foot in Africa, or not Africa, in Nigeria, barely. It was the minions they left, the minions that look like me, they left that did the real eroding and bullshit. I just saw recently that churches in Igbo land, because there's this big shift, people are shifting back to what makes sense. You understand? And now the churches are trying to, first they try to fight them. So currently, like the governor of Anambra State, his number one MO is catching DBS and catching and burning down shrines. That's his number one. Just these, I don't know what's going on. I'm not from Anambra, anyways. And then in other community, other places, what you'll see is a lot of churches have started like, there's churches that have masquerades now. And the masquerade will be like, it'll be like a traditional masquerade, but it'll have like a white person's face just to let you know, like a brazenly Caucasian face, you know. Right? Or they'll put the Virgin Mary on the top of the ekeleke instead of Allah. They'll put the Virgin Mary like there's a correlation, right? And that kind of thing. And I think that's worse than them burning Irishi. That's worse than them burning Irishi. You understand? It's madness, but there's the tide is turning worldwide, worldwide. Another when I made my Insibidi video, I had about a group. I don't know the number, but it was a group of people, not like collectively, but like different people would reach out to me, be like, I had this dream. It was an old woman, and they always say it was an old woman, very stern faced. Whoa, it was a stern faced old woman. Came to my dream, gave me this symbol. What does it mean? I can send you that. I mean, I'm not going to share people's emails and stuff, but I got this email from different people that don't know each other. Is this in Sibidi? Okay, because an old woman, real mean looking old woman, like a real, that old woman came to my dream. And I also had that same dream. She didn't give me a symbol, but she told me to look at my hands. She didn't even say, she just. Right? She didn't say anything. I had to say, and so I have this dream. It inspires me to do what I'm doing now. I make the Insibidi video, and then all of these people start messaging me saying, yeah, hey, this woman came to me, old, stern, gave me this symbol. What does it mean? And I'm just like, yo, what the fuck? You know, these are the things that kind of help me evolve in my own understanding. I was answering a question, and all right, we missed it. So, oh yeah, keeping a holy day. Yeah, Eke Day. So communally, people kept Eke Day sacred. You don't do anything on Eke Day. You don't work on Eke Day. You don't. That's your day of rest, right? Um, I keep Eke Day. I don't do anything on Eke Day, though I'm not. I slip. There are days where it's like I'm gonna work today, right? The best thing. Okay, so let me tell you guys this, right? The best thing about there's this ilu that says without the perch of the eagle, the flight, what is it? Without the perch of the eagle, the flight is not possible. Something along those lines, right? That the process of an eagle flying is flying and perching and flying and perching. So you do need that day where you perch mentally, physically, spiritually, right? And what I love about when I actually take, like, I haven't lately, but when I lock in and really rest on Eke Day, one of the things I like about it is by like evening, I am itching to get back to work, right? I am itching to get back to like, I really want to do it. You understand, right? That kind of thing. And it keeps this like, by the time Uriah hits, boom! And then by the time I'm qua, I'm like, if some of these lives, when I'm doing the live, check what day it is. Check what day. But if I have a live and Eke Day, I'll do the live, right? If I have a group study, Eke Day, which I missed today's group study. I was up all night finishing the video. So we'll do Patreon, Village Quenu. We're gonna do the group study this coming weekend, okay? But yeah, I don't know what else. The spirit that animates me through these things is has left me. I don't. So we're gonna probably wrap it up. It's important to keep a sacred day. It's important to keep a day of rest. That is where that's you just need it. You just need it. Everybody needs it. Hold on. If I ever asked a woman in Odinani, have I okay, Phoenix, I'm gonna try to read this. Have I ever asked if women in Odin are allowed to pray if you're going through your cycle, you don't do anything pertaining to like spirituality, whatever, you just take it off. Take that's your monthly Eke day. That's your Eke week. Okay? That's your Eke week. So just chill. Just chill that day. Chill that time. Right? The yeah, just chill. No do nothing. There's a lot of cultures that have that, like Jewish culture, a lot of almost every African culture, that kind of thing, that have that, don't do anything, which is interesting because it's the only bodily fluid that exits your body, but you're expected to work while it's exiting. Does that make sense? Right? You're expected to work, you're expected to go to school, you're expected to do all these things in the middle of a secretion or this is gonna get wild now. Right in the middle. That's sometimes I think about it that way too. Like is like why isn't that just standard? You know, why isn't that just kind of standard? Why would I not have this pressure to be like imagine if like you had to keep working. Why I guess Amazon makes you work while they make you pee in a bottle so you can keep working. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. To me, it's the same thing. You know, is he going to be punished? Question mark. Burning down shrines. We'll see. If the shrine is real, maybe. If the shrine is not real, no. Yeah. That's kind of how it is as far as with netting. There was the Eze in our community keeps getting beat up by the youth and chased out, and his palace was burned. And one of the reasons was that he cut down one of the sacred trees where, again, with like Divine Nine, when you become an Ozo, when you take the Ozo title, one of the rituals you do is you'll hug that tree. You'll hug this specific tree. And this guy cut the tree down. And so the community had this huge uproar and they kicked him out and all this stuff. I think he's come back now, you know. And I was like, all these people are going vandalizing these things. Like, what? Like, can we beat them up or something? And then my dad told me that you don't fight for spirits. You understand? As far as with Anigo, you don't fight for spirits. You don't fight on behalf of spirits, right? That if that tree has significance, it'll handle itself, right? If that tree is what we say it is, it'll handle itself, right? It's not a belief thing. It's not a belief thing, right? That kind of thing. So I'm Christian, but I've been a seeker for a while now. Okay, welcome, Fred. You're right. I just went back home emo last month. People are returning to ancestral practices. My dad and I were talking about a few hours ago. It's good that what was funny? I went to the Igbo Fest, right? And typically when I'm around like American Igbo people, I know that this shit's about to be like the Joel Osteen convention, right? So I was at the Igbo Fest and like they had Dr. Ume. After God is DB, after God is DB there, he broke Oji. He greeted the ancestors, all the Abara, everything. He broke Oji for the event, right? So Dr. Ume broke Oji, and then everything was very Odin. Like it was locked in Odinani. Like nobody was playing. Nobody was playing any games. I was pleasantly surprised. I was actually surprised, right? I was actually I was like, right? You understand? So yeah, no, people are back with a we're back with a vengeance. We are back with a vengeance. Akachi Kenga. Hey, strong name. Who is that? I have that book. It helped me so much in studies, Udo. For clarification, a person cannot be a deity, correct? No, a person is not. A person can't be a deity. No. A person can be connected. A person can be like a messenger or a mouthpiece, but you can't be the he as a human being. You can't now start saying I'm But all of the things we're calling deities, all the Abara, they express themselves in people as well, right? They express themselves in people as well. So a Dibia is the human version of Agu, okay? And Nze and Ozo is the human version of Amadioha. And Udu is the human version of Nechuku or Allah, whichever one you want to say, right? Onyemiri, human version of Nemiri. But it doesn't mean that person's a deity. It just means that's just the thing they express as, I don't know how to say it. But they themselves, it's called cleansing, not say whatever, dude. I need a copy of After the Abuse if anybody has it. Cool. Because my dad said deities would mean they collect. Hold on. Said deities would mean that they collect offerings or people pay respect to deities or more so essences. Olive Uchi, I'm going to try to read that again. I'm having a hard time understanding what you said. Because my dad said deities would mean that they would collect offerings and people respect deities or more so essences or spirits. Yeah, okay, maybe I think what you're saying is, are you speaking about like the idea of like sacrificing to them, or maybe I think it's time for me to wrap it up, guys. I think it's time for me to wrap it up. Amazon is a sweatshop. Yeah, definitely. But it's the same thing with like you're on your period. It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. I mean, we're so used to it in this society and like every society now because America has everybody's brain tube. But in every society now, we're so used to it that we don't even think about it. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're going through this thing. And then you have to just like you know. Right? Shove a cloth and then get back on the sweatshop. Fuck you, me, you're yeah. Oh shit. You know? Shove a cotton swab in it and go back to fucking folding these goddamn laundry. That's just kind of wild, isn't it? Right? But I think it would be harder to do that too, because in this society we're not communal. So a lot of times, you're a woman and you want to, man, shit, ain't nobody gonna do the things for you, right? The things you do, or there's a chance that there's nobody around to do those things, right? That you do your contribution to your life, your contribution to your family, that kind of thing, right? That kind of thing. So waste all your sick days on goddamn periods. Shit. Glad I caught this live. Your spirituality has been rising my consciousness. Odem, Jennifer, very nice hearing that from you. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Wait. I wish I could have a monthly vacation. I wish I felt more communal. But I think everybody in the West, is like it's an interesting society, right? Or a group of societies. But I think we've all reached a point that we're like, okay, we actually are supposed to be communal because this is madness, right? This is insane. This is madness, right? I am living right now. I'm living away from family and raising my kids. I mean, it's a given. I'm not saying anything like brain surgery, but raising my kids has been a lot harder. It's been harder, right? You know how many times I needed to finish a video and grandparents would watch Namdi? Even though he was very peaceful as a child, I didn't have too many issues, right? But right now, am I going to pay the $200 or am I going to just like wait till the kid stops screaming? He's like, and record. It's harder. So it kind of, you understand the Western idea of like a little bit more, right? Because like you're at your wit's end, a lot, because you don't have help. You don't have help, right? Or like the fact that you, like for like example now, like I feel like with like a nuclear family, non-communal nuclear family, I feel like you get less rolls of the dice. So like if your mother is not, I don't know, a good mom, or your father is not a good dad, you're done. You're cooked, right? But I feel like in a more communal setting, if your dad's wilding, you still have 73 male role models that call you their son. So that's him, right? And it's not like you're less close, but it's just like you get more chances at possibly getting what you need from another person, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, all that stuff, or finding what you connect with, that kind of thing. There are disadvantages to being communal. There are major disadvantages. No privacy. That's not going to happen, right? No privacy, constant comparison, competition, all that stuff. There's shit about it, right? It's not all. Uh, what are some other disadvantages of being communal? I think it's harder to hone in on yourself as an individual, right? Like the things that make you individual. I think. I think. Uh and it's expensive as hell, man. It's expensive as hell. You pay for a lot of stuff. You know, you pay for a lot of stuff. There's a lot of the family always needs something. Something always needs to be done, right? Which, as a human being, I don't mind. I'm honored to do it, and I feel good doing it. Um, but yeah, it gets expensive. You're paying for funerals. You're paying for school sometimes, that kind of thing. Again, I love doing it. I love, like, we compete, we fight for a chance to do it, right? Um, just I'm the stingy uncle. I'm the stingy uncle in the sense that I don't like if you just tell me you want money, or like, I'll say no. But if you have like a plan, like if you tell me what you're trying to do, oh shit, take. So one of my nephews, or cousins, really, my younger cousins, he just came to me with his blueprint, like, hey, I'm an electrician. I'm trying to get this shop. This is what I'm about to do. This and that. I mean, I'm like, dude, take. But if you come to me talk about, oh, cool, it's Christmas. Come on, it's Christmas, man. Fuck out my face with that shit. Do I look like Christmas? The fuck? But yeah. So I had that. But once I did that, the floodgates opened. Now everybody, hey, what about me? What about me? What about me? And that's normal. It's normal. It's what it is, right? So yeah. So it's just a different way of living. Anyways, I think I've reached that point where I just start talking. So guys, we are starting Kedu. We are starting Kedu at the end of this month on the 29th, right? Right now, there are 4 seats available. There are 4 seats available for Kedu out of 12, okay? For Igbo 1, that is. If you're going to Igbo 2, you'll be fine, that kind of thing. Or Igbo 3, you'll be fine, right? So we're starting, sign up at www.kedu.me, kedu.me. If you are going to learn the Igbo language in 2025, you have told yourself you're going to learn the language in 2025. Those of you who are alumni, we've added more boot camps. So we're doing, like, if you're taking Kedu, we're also going to have the optional boot camps for Insibidi. If you want to learn how to write in Insibidi, right? That kind of thing. We'll also have an optional boot camp about, like, general, like, family cultural things, right? What does the wife do? What does the husband do? What do the children do? That kind of thing. So we're adding those 2 things for the general boot camps. We've also, for the alumni, coaching now has a texting option, right? It doesn't have to be on the phone. You can now text if you're more comfortable texting, okay? We experimented with it last quarter, and I think it worked pretty well. So if you want to do texting with your coach, you can do it. This is for alumni. Those of you who have not signed up for Kedu to learn the Igbo language, we are starting on the 29th. There are 4 seats available. People, those 4 seats are going to go at the once we're 1 week away. Everybody, the week till, right? Or yeah, the week right before. That's why everybody will sign up, right? And then I'll have like an overload, like, oh, let me get it, that kind of thing. So if you're thinking about signing up, sign up now. If for some reason you want me to reserve a seat for you, like, hey, I'm gonna sign up, but can you wait till like the 27th, right? Message me on Patreon, message me by email. I think my email should be in the description. Derek, DERICKOFOD @gmail.com. Or find me on any social media and message me, hey, I'm gonna sign up. Can you wait till like the 26th? Can you wait till the 22nd? Then I can definitely, cause I get it, dude. You know what I mean? You can't, shit's expensive now, right? Life's expensive now, so I get it. But yeah, that being said, guys, this has been a lot of fun. As always, uno gade, uno geto, gobla, uno tiriaka, ogade noa, gadi otwa neke, nurie, na fo, na mpo. He said.